Okay, now this isn't a Hikaru hate channel. I'm rooting for Hikaru and Fabi to win the tournament. So let's look at another Hikaru game. And let's go back to the key position, which is this one. Okay, this is the key position in the game until there's another key position. Then there's another key position. And a good amount of the time, and let me do a marker, because I'm the only one who does markers. Marker, Alireza Naka. Okay, so this is the next game, and this game and some other games I'm going to show. Thanks Favor4 for subscribing. Thanks GP Bear for 100 bits. These games show that a lot of times when super grandmasters play and the game is decisive, it's not a draw, that it's not because one guy played great and the other guy played bad, because super grandmaster playing bad for. Often it's one position, one thing is overlooked, occasionally in time trouble. This game was very hard fought, and it was about equal the whole game. And probably the engine preferred white in some positions and black in some positions, but never winning, just, like some advantage. And this position is wild and crazy, and the thermometer is in the middle. It says this is a draw. All zeros, nobody's better. Thanks, McNevy Nakurana. Man, it's like Levy, Magnus, Nakamura, and Caruana. Not sure how Levy got in there. God damn. Okay, so in this position and in a later position, which we'll get to, either side can say, okay, this position's equal, this move draws, let's do that. And that's what a lot of club players do. They're like, this is the safe move, this draws, let's do that. And so in this position, if that's the way you think about chess, thanks Treo for gifting a sub, then you would play rook takes d4, knight takes d3, rook takes d3, rook takes f5, and rook e2, for example. And this is all zeros. It's a double rook ending with 3 pawns each. Every move is all zeros. Doesn't matter what either side does. And obviously, Firouzja saw that. He could take this pawn. But Firouzja plays for the win. Did Firouzja think he's winning? Probably not, but he plays for the win. Okay? So Firouzja never played f6. That forces black to capture. And now Firouzja plays rook f2 check. And I was having a chess lesson yesterday, and I showed this to a student, and I said, black only has one move that draws. And student wasn't getting it. To refresh, I guess. The hype train is stuck at 100%. Terrible. Let's see if that works. Or if it's a Twitch issue. There we go. Level 2. Rook f4 is illegal. So that's not the answer. You misspelled bits. Thanks trying to learn for 100 bits. No, it's at 61% in level 2 because I refreshed. Bonarici with the right answer, but obviously typoing. Yeah, it turns out all king moves lose. We must play rook f5. Rook f6 is the obvious move. Damn. Come on, Bonarici. Okay, so rook f5 was played. Takes, e7. And black sacrifices the exchange because he has to. Takes the bishop. Queen, takes. And in this position, now it's Hikaru's turn to either make the game a draw or fight for the win, just like Firouzja did. And if you want to be safe and you don't want to lose, you play knight b2. There's no defense to this pawn, and it's just a complete draw. These pawns are going to get traded. It's going to be a knight and 2 pawns against a rook. Nobody can win. But Hikaru didn't play it safe. He played for the win, and he played knight f4. So now Hikaru's risking losing because at some point, white could play rook a8 and take this pawn and queen the a pawn. A pawn's pretty strong. So they're both in time trouble, and they both could have just drawn the game if they wanted. And first Firouzja plays for a win, and now Hikaru plays for a win. Thanks, GP Bear. I don't know what Firouzja saw. Probably f6. I mean, probably when he played f6, he saw this position here. Be my guess. Okay, so Firouzja played king f1. The engine agrees. Hikaru played d3. The engine agrees. Now, if white ever takes this pawn and I play d2, you can't play rook d5 and you can't play king e2. So d3 sort of makes this pawn safer. It's hard for white to capture it. King f2, white wants to play king e3, check, and white plays king e3. And Hikaru plays g4. And unfortunately for Firouzja, but if you're a Naka fan, then it's fortunate, he blundered here in time trouble. And basically, a lot of moves draw by doing virtually nothing. So either attacking the A pawn or attacking the D pawn with the rook. Both of those moves draw. And, you know, if you have no time on your clock, it doesn't matter how good you are. Who knows what's going on here? Either side could win. Black could make a queen. White could go here and make a queen on the A pawn. I don't know. It could be a draw somehow. And the engine says that rook a8 is a draw and rook d8 is a draw. And Firouzja made a rather elementary blunder for somebody of his skill level. He played king takes d3, which loses the game. And now black's pawn just marches in. Truth hurts. And the thing is, obviously, the knight is defending g1. So if I play g1 queen, and you take my queen, and I take with the knight, then black's winning. And unfortunately for Firouzja, the knight is indirectly defending g2, because I have knight f4 check, forking the king and the rook. So this pawn's coming in. And Firouzja gave a spite check, and then he resigned, because no matter what he does, I'm going to push my pawn. And the king can't stop it, because the knight defends f2, and if the rook tries to stop it, then you lose your rook. So king takes d3. He realized relatively quickly that that was just losing, and he couldn't believe what he did. And that happens at the top level. The players play about the same strength, and then one move in a 6-hour game, they make a mistake. And sometimes the mistake doesn't matter very much, and sometimes the mistake ends the game and you resign. So the truth hurts. And this game was played on the 9th, 3 days ago. Is it luck? It's definitely not luck. It's funny, there's a well-known tournament director, organizer in Georgia who was directing a tournament and organizing one I was playing in several years ago. And I had a really sharp game, which I ended up winning. And the guy's about 1,500, the organizer. Doesn't play chess anymore. He said, do you see all those variations, or is it just luck? Yeah, just the same players are always lucky. There's a lot of calculation going on that is basically beyond the comprehension of, club players. Basically, every move of chess, somebody like Firouzja analyzes more variations than a club player does in a whole game. They can look 10, 15 moves ahead in several variations. And you guys look one move ahead and then you're wrong. That's why their ratings are 27, 2800 and your ratings are not. Truth hurts. The top players are so much better than club players, it's almost impossible to understand. And this is the case in every game in sport. That the top players are so much better than a regular person. You can't even... And there's a funny example of this. Some African country, the guy who's the head of choosing the team, he chose like his niece, who isn't an athlete. And then he got fired afterwards. And there was some kind of Olympic trials, and it was the best runners in the world, and his niece. And so race went on, and you could see the difference between a normal person and a world-class athlete. She still hasn't finished the race, and this was about a year ago. I mean, they could have run a mile, and she'd be still running the 100-meter. I mean, it was obvious she didn't belong there, but she wasn't slower than a normal person. She just isn't a professional athlete who runs as fast as possible. And the same thing happens in chess. And the only reason Alireza would make a move like king takes d3 is he just miscalculated in the time trouble. And also, another reason is the game's been going on for 5.5 hours, and he's playing a 5.5 hour game every day, and every mistake you make loses the game. So you're sort of on edge. You gotta, it's very nerve-wracking. Hello.